2025 is going to be a wild year for monitors, and I mean, for starters, we've already been shown a number of new OLED sizes and resolutions planned thanks to TFT Central coming from both LG and Samsung, but more than that, we're likely to see huge improvements to Mini LED along with faster, brighter, and higher resolution options with a wide variety of coatings available as well, thank God. So let's take a look at these charts I've thrown together to see everything that I do believe will be coming in 2025 so far, based on not only things that TFT Central has already essentially leaked, I guess you could say, but also things that I've seen at past CESs and hints that I've been told about possible future panels coming in 2025. Now let's start off with breaking down the information that TFT Central did put out in regards to OLED panels coming in 2025 from both, again, Samsung and LG. Now, if you've seen this before, yes, I'll have a few updates to throw in here in terms of timelines and some other specifics, but if you don't want to hear it, hey, you can go ahead and skip ahead to the unknown panels, probably stuff you've never heard of thus far. But again, let's start off with the TFT Central stuff. Yes, we are apparently going to be getting a 45-inch LG OLED panel. This one should be coming in at an 800R curve. I believe the resolution should be 5120 by 2160, 240 hertz refresh rate, and the brightness should be a similar 300/750/1300 nits that we're seeing on the current OLED panels. Now, when I say these numbers in slashes, I mean a 100% window, a 10% window, and then a 2 or 3% window. Now, in terms of the pixel layout, we're talking RGWB, which is actually going to be probably the best text clarity out of any OLED on the market right now, and the coating is unknown at this point in time. Now, I say unknown because typically LG does a matte coating, but they've been getting a lot of blowback on those matte coatings because they do significantly harm the image by giving it a grainy or oily look to it, and I've been seeing them responding to a lot of people saying that they are considering making glossy versions. So I just don't know at this point in time if they're going to double down on matte or if they're going to finally at least produce some options with glossy. We'll have to wait and see until CES, which I will be attending as usual, so make sure you're subscribed if you want more info on that. And in terms of a release date, this should actually be Q1 of 2025. It sounds like it might be going into production by the end of 2024 this year. However, it should actually be available probably sometime after CES if everything goes to plan and this hasn't been canceled. I hope that's not the case, because this one, and I'll mention I'm actually bolding the ones I'm most excited for. I'm very excited for this one because if it is glossy, let me tell you guys, the 45-inch 1440p version that's on the market right now is an incredibly immersive panel. It just needs to ditch the matte coating and raise that resolution up, and it could be a near endgame monitor for a lot of people. That would probably be my go-to. That just sounds amazing. Now, next up, we do have a potential 27-inch 4K option coming from Samsung, flat panel, 240 hertz. Similar brightness that we're seeing to current models, similar pixel layout, should be glossy, and a release date for this one is actually currently unknown, although I wouldn't be surprised if it was like Q1 of 2025. Then we should be getting a 34-inch 800R curve, and by the way, the lower the number on the R rating, actually the more curved it is. So an 1800R curve monitor, barely curved, 1000 a lot, 800 definitely a lot, but I really like that. I find it very, very immersive. But here we have another ultra-wide true 4K display. Sounds incredible. Similar brightness levels to stuff we're seeing on the market today, RGWB, that's great. And of course, a Q4 2025 release date possible, although this one could maybe slip into 2026, we'll see. Then we have another LG OLED 39-inch version, basically all the same specs as that last one, and a similar release date, just in a 39-inch size, which I think I would find a lot more preferable and more immersive personally versus the 34-inch, but of course that's totally going to depend on your desk size and your preferred size. Any size can be fantastic and great, just depending on how far you want to view it on your desk or if you're wall mounting it, etc. However, there is rumors of RGB OLED coming to LG, and this would be amazing because this would mean that you would get basically perfect text clarity. And I actually do believe this might be tandem OLED that we're talking about. It looks like we're going to have a 31.5 and a 27-inch option. I'm not sure if they're referring to tandem OLED, but it does seem like that's probably the most likely. If that is the case, it's going to be very, very similar to the current 31.5 and 27-inch OLEDs on the market, except for, of course, they'll both be 4K. However, the brightness would likely massively increase, giving us potentially 500 nits full screen, 1000 in a 10% window, and 1600 in a 2 or 3% window. That would be incredible. I wouldn't expect to see this until at the very earliest 2025 Q4, but possibly Q1 of 2026. But if I'm wrong and this isn't tandem OLED, it is possible it could be more likely 2025, but I'm leaning towards tandem OLED, possibly slipping into 2026. We'll see. But now let's talk about the displays that you've probably never heard anything about other than just pure speculation. And yes, there will be some speculation here on my part, but this is mostly based on, I guess you could say, educated speculation based on some stuff that I've seen and heard behind the scenes that I haven't always shown you guys. And that doesn't mean it's always going to end up coming to fruition. However, I think there's a good chance with a lot of the stuff we're going to be talking about, but we'll see. Anyway, let's start off with unknown mini LED. Now at CES, and I can tell you guys this one, I did for sure see a 27-inch 8K display with over 5,000 local dimming zones, and I'm definitely looking forward to 8K displays. I think it was 120 hertz at the time. It might be a higher refresh rate when it actually comes to market, probably in 2025. Release date for all of these is unknown. I just don't have as much information, but 2025 is seeming likely for all of these, assuming they do launch. However, unfortunately, this one I'm not quite as enthusiastic about because it will likely have a matte coating. Now, I'm not sure, but it is more likely than not, and it's also a 27-inch size. And for me personally, guys, I'm more of a 32 to 42-inch type of guy when it comes to monitor sizes, although, again, I can use any size and definitely get used to it and love it. I could use a 27-inch and I could use a 77-inch as long as the viewing distance is right. It's all gonna look great. Now, the next one is, I've been hearing hints that potentially we might be seeing a 32-inch mini LED, much like that 8K mini LED we just talked about. Possibly, it sounds like leaning more towards 2,000 local dimming zones instead of the 5,000 plus we would see on the 8K version. However, a 4,000 to 5,000 zone variant could end up happening. Again, unfortunately, this one would likely be matte, but it's just not set in stone at this point in time. And both of these displays I'm talking about would exceed, or at least probably reach, 2,000 nits of brightness based on all the stuff I've seen thus far. Now, this one would likely be more gaming oriented and would be a 4K resolution instead of 8K. And because of that, it would likely be somewhere between 144 to 240 hertz. It seems like there is a lot of interest in creating this display. However, I just don't know. OLED is working just really well. They are selling like crazy, and all these companies are doubling down on OLED. I don't blame them. OLED is awesome. However, now let's talk about those OLEDs. LG W OLED. I believe there will be an enhanced version or a refresh from at least one company, if not multiple, coming in 2025. I could be wrong. I have a lot less information on this one. This is more of me speculating based on kind of hints that have been told to me, but a lot of this stuff, you don't know if it's going to end up happening or not. So I would say I'm probably about 60% sure that we will see some sort of refresh to a 31.5 inch or 32 inch 4K W OLED coming out with an LG panel that would probably be pushing the brightness numbers up, but I'm just not certain. This would be the same specs for everything else, RGWB, 240 hertz / 480 hertz, I would assume, and all that good stuff. However, I'm also not sure if they'll stick with matte. They could potentially be using a glossy coating on this one if they do refresh this panel. I think that would make sense, because if you're just refreshing it with higher brightness and that's it, I'm not sure if you're going to get a lot of people to buy it, but if it's higher brightness and glossy, I could definitely see that happening. We'll have to wait and see. Now, I do also believe you'll see essentially the same thing from Samsung. Again, I'm kind of 60-40 on this. We'll see. They might just hold off another year and decide not to release a refresh quite yet, but I think they will. I mean, they do that with TVs every year. I don't see why they wouldn't do it with monitors. Based on kind of hints I've been told, it seems this is kind of more likely than not but again, 240 hertz, 4K, and just bumping those brightness numbers up. Now, I think it'll be more significant with QD-OLED, and this might be a good one to kind of wait and see if this does end up happening, because I think you would actually see the 10% window brightness possibly double. I mean, they've been seeing a lot of complaints, and a lot of companies that I talk to are well aware that you guys want brighter QD OLEDs. They know it, and I'm sure there's a lot of talks happening about that. So I think you would be seeing a significant brightness enhancement on these QD OLEDs, especially if they're moving to an even more efficient process, which I think they would be. Now, another one, and these two are definitely up in the air, but I do think you could be seeing either a 39 or 40-inch QD OLED that has similar 5120 by 2160 true 4K ultra-wide specs as the LG ones, which are rumored to come out, because typically when LG releases something, Samsung wants to have some sort of an alternative. That's why I have that one up there. Probably going to be glossy. However, I actually do also believe they might have essentially an OLED alternative to the 57-inch 7680 by 2160 monitor that we currently have right now with the 57-inch Neo G9. That monitor is awesome, but it's matte and it's also mini LED with only roughly 1,000 zones per 4K panel, essentially, with a total of over 2,000. Yeah, that looks really, really great as it is. It's an awesome monitor, and I do still recommend it to this day, but I mean, if we could get this in QD OLED, especially if it ends up using a new manufacturing process and they can double that 10% window brightness, that could be an incredible monitor. Definitely one that I do hope ends up happening. So there you have it, guys. That's kind of what I'm expecting to see in 2025. There could be a lot, in fact, it's probably going to be a lot more than this throughout the year, or maybe some of these will slip into 2026. Maybe some will get canceled. We don't know quite yet, and I'll definitely know a lot more information at CES, but this is what I'm expecting to see based on things I've seen and heard, and I just want you guys to say in the comments below, which one of these are you most excited for? Do you think that all of these will end up coming out? Do you think that maybe some of these will get canceled? Let me know in the comments below, and make sure that you get subscribed for everything display related here on The Display Guy. Whether you're looking to connect a new console, gaming PC, or just need a fast and reliable HDMI cable to connect over long distances, Rupro has you covered with their certified 8K HDMI 2.1 fiber optic cable, available in sizes of up to 50 feet and can deliver a perfect full 48 gigabits per second connection over distances other cables could only dream of reaching. And with 48 gigabits per second of bandwidth, it can easily drive 8K 60 FPS or 4K 144 FPS 10-bit HDR video through its ultra-thin, flexible, and durable housing, and it even supports ER. So if you're in the market for a cable that can drive a beautiful new TV or monitor, be sure to check out Rupro on Amazon today.